Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for 12.1. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream right now from midnight until 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. Only on Twitch now. We're no longer streaming on YouTube, only on Twitch, but we are still doing a lot of videos on YouTube. I'm going to do patch notes, tier lists, and I'm going to do some updated guides for the start of the season as well. So check back. I'm going to try to have something for you every day. So be sure to like, subscribe, follow on YouTube if you're interested. If you've got a Twitch Prime, drop that Prime. And you can also follow me on Twitter, the Strategy Professor at the StratProf on Twitter, just for an extra layer of notifications, just in case YouTube and Twitch don't give you those notifications, which I've heard people say that. That's just one more way you can get notified. I pretty much only post whenever I release a video or go live, so it's just basically an extra notification system. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So just some quick clarity, because I know there is some confusion about the patch notes versus the start of the season, and they do address that down here at the bottom. Basically, the patch is coming out at pretty much normal times for every region. So in the US, that's going to be 7 a.m. On Wednesday. So it's just the normal time, normal Wednesday patch for the US, and whatever the equivalent is internationally. Okay, so tomorrow the patch will be live. However, the ranked reset and ranked systems are not happening until Friday around these times, which is pretty much 4 a.m., whatever your local time is, basically, is when that's going to roll out. So there's going to be a couple of days where you can play on 12.1, but it's not the new season yet. So it's a little confusing. I think they're just doing that just so that people can just kind of binge play the entire weekend or something like that. I don't know. It's a marketing thing, I assume, but a little confusing, but that's how it is. So the patch is going to be live for a couple of days, but the ranked reset does not start until Friday. However, remember that your rank does matter in the preseason, so don't, go crazy over these next couple of days and just lose all your games, because that will affect your rank. Basically, and they say that down here, when the ranked starts, they're just coming out and saying it. Everybody is going to start 5 divisions lower than they currently are, right? So the example they use, and I don't remember exactly where this is, but they use Gold 1. Here it is. Gold 1, you're going to start at Silver 2. Okay, so we're going to depend. I mean, if we go on a run over the next couple of days, we might be able to start in Gold 4. Right now we're Platinum 4. But it's likely we might actually start off in Silver. But the good news is everybody goes down like that, and presumably that's going to give you plenty of space to climb back up, to get that sense of climb and accomplishment and momentum. So I know it's annoying at the start, but you just got to keep in mind that it happens to everybody. And your MMR, your hidden matchmaking rating, is going to be the same. So that means that you're going to be getting a lot of elo. At least in the past, that's how it's worked. So if you win a game, you might gain 50 or something LP. Now again, they changed how that works last season as far as LP gains. So it might be a little bit less, but you'll be gaining an unusually high amount of LP when you lose early. And I think for your placements, you can't actually drop any lower. So if you lose like all 5 of your placement games and you're placed in Silver 2, you will still be Silver 2. So it's all a little confusing. But the main thing is everybody starts lower. This happens every season just to give you a sense of momentum and sort of new, fresh purpose and the ability to climb out a little bit. Okay, so what are the other changes going on in this patch? Well, it looks like they're making Diana in the jungle a lot stronger. Now, I'm not sure why they did this, because she was really good for a lot of the season. And I personally don't like having hard carry junglers in the meta. I much prefer role player junglers, but at the same time, I know that jungle is difficult to market. A lot of people don't like jungle. And so in order to entice people to play jungle more, they need to make carry junglers a thing, right? They need to put a high level of power on carry junglers if you play well. So stuff like Diana, Graves, Kha'Zix, all of these things need to be somewhat viable, because that just attracts a lot of the player base, right? They want to feel like they can 1v9 hard carry, and they want to see challengers do that. They don't want to see people playing Nunu and Sejuani every game and stuff like that. The things that are actually, I think, more balanced, like better for the game type of junglers. But Anyways, it is what it is. So they're bumping her back up. And this is a pretty strong buff, I think. I mean, it's just on her passive. It's not affecting her other abilities, but she triggers that passive fairly often. And I think she still probably rushes Nashers. She might get Proto Belt. I'm not sure exactly, but usually she gets Nashers somewhere. So she's going to trigger that quite a bit. So it should give her a nice amount of extra wave clear and good good damage on dragons and barons as well. So we'll see. I don't remember the exact nerfs they gave her, but she is the type of champion who does scale really well into late game. And that's the kind of meta that we're in right now as far as the new bounties and things like that. Games feel like they're lasting a little bit longer than usual. Okay, Gangplank. They did nerf Grasp on him a while ago, and they're lowering the mana cost by 5 per level, which is helpful. You might get off, what, 1, maybe 2 more parlays before you have to back. And then the cooldown is going down by half a second, so that's good. I think that GP is actually a really interesting champion. I think he's one of the better designed champions in the game overall. He takes quite a bit of skill to play correctly. There is counterplay to him, you know, timing the barrel hits, being able to dodge the barrels. The ultimate's, you know, really powerful, but not... You can kind of play around it. So, I don't know. I think he's a really cool champion in general. Lots of skill expression, really unique kit. So I would much rather something like Gangplank potentially be a little on the strong side rather than, you know, Camille, for example. Even though Camille is somewhat hard to play as well, I feel like there's less counterplay to a Camille when she's really fed. But anyways, I don't mind GP being a little strong. It might be a little worrisome as far as like pro play goes or maybe Challenger, but I think at most elo brackets, most people don't unlock the true power of Gangplank, and so giving him some buffs is pretty cool. I think he's an interesting champion. I like it when he's in the meta. I mean, obviously I don't like getting one-shotted by the barrels at some point, but again, I feel like there's just more counterplay to him than a lot of other hard carry champs when they're too strong in the top lane. Okay, the Rek'Sai change is a little puzzling because I feel like this champ is not very good right now. I mean, maybe in like Challenger or something, but the meta doesn't really suit her. You know, she's a very early game, like turbo gank, invade type of jungler, and I feel like those haven't been that strong, or they've been falling off, like the Xin Zhaos, the Jarvans, the Rek'Sais. They're still like good, but I feel like the carry junglers are just like, even the tank jungles have been doing a lot better than those types of junglers. So I don't know, like if we look at the PBI here, sorry, let me just move this for her real quick.
I can't cover the door.
Okay, there you go. So really, I mean, it's been low-key, like, you know, Nunu, Warwick, Vi. Kha'Zix is up there, too, as far as PBI. Trundle is at 54%. So it's pretty healthy right now. There's a lot of stuff that's, you know, pretty good. There's pretty good spread of junglers that are strong right now. I mean, Rek'Sai is 53%, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's like, is she really that much stronger than some of these other ones, though, right now? I mean, maybe it's a Challenger thing. But anyway, so they are taking down her bite. I never see Rek'Sai do very well in my games, because, again, if she falls behind, she's just kind of worthless. And I think they're, at least something like Zen, you know, can go in there and disrupt and maybe be kind of a tank. Jarvan's obviously going to have some utility as far as, like, the... And then Lee Sin, if you play him really well, can have quite a bit of utility. So they're nerfing the bite a little bit. Same bonus AD, and then they're lowering the tunnel, which is probably not that big of a deal. She does get a refund on how often she tunnels, so that's going to cut down her mobility a bit, I guess. I don't think it's that huge of a nerf. It's just a little bit weird. I mean, 15 is significant if you max E, which I guess that's what people are doing. But again, I don't see her that often, and she doesn't feel like she's that oppressive to me. You know, she's got less than a 3% play rate. So, whatever. Strange, but okay. Sona, now she did need a nerf. I'm sorry, I know we have lots of Sona fans on the channel, but I mean, she's had a 54 at least % win rate ever since they buffed Moonstone, you know, 2 months ago. They're saying, oh, it was just in the preseason. It's like, no, she's been strong for a while at this point. But yeah, it's just kind of out of hand. She's eclipsed 55%. And they're saying it's skilled play, and she's pushing the limit in other brackets. No, 55 is over the limit that you've described before. A champion should not have a 55% win rate. at least something that gets picked with any sort of regularity. I mean, she's almost got a 5% play rate, which is not like enormous, but it's just too much guaranteed power, and there's not a lot of counterplay to her. Like, obviously you can maybe get on her and blow her up, but if you don't kill her immediately, if you don't just run through everybody and use all your cooldowns to kill her, she's going to win every team fight a lot of times. So it feels bad if you're behind on her, because it's really hard to make plays. Like, you can ult, but it's hard to roam around. Vision control is a bit harder with her. So that's why I've stopped playing her, is because if you're a little bit behind, it just feels hard to come back. It feels like I don't have as much agency in the game. But if you're just like an average player for your elo bracket and you just play Sona, you're just going to win a lot of games, just because she just gives out so many free stats, and you don't have to, make any difficult plays or decisions. You don't have to decide if you're going to engage or not. You just have to hang out in the back and just press your keys. Hit your ult. That's important, but other than that, just press your keys and you'll be effective on her. So that's why I think that she almost always historically has a high win rate, especially in like platinum, gold, and lower, just because she's so consistent. It's really hard to mess her up mechanically, right? Like, you can still be out of position, roaming when you shouldn't roam, trying to clear a pink ward when you shouldn't be clearing it. But aside from that, if you're just making smart sort of positional and macro plays, she's just really, really effective. Okay, so they're lowering her armor a little bit. Okay, make her a little bit more susceptible, so at, rank 5, she'll lose 1.5 armor. I don't think that's that big of a deal. It does kind of add up, I guess. And then Song of Celerity, longer cooldown. You're only doing that, like, maybe once per fight anyways, maybe twice. This is not what they need to hit. They need to hit her guaranteed power. They need to hit either her W or her Q, in my opinion. Or just go, like, really hard nerf her, not her growth, but like just her straight up armor. Take off 5 armor or something in the early game. I would nerf her. I mean, they could also nerf the cooldown on her Q, so she can't harass as much in the early game. But or the mana cost. I don't know. It's just something other than this. Like, either stop her early game free harassment that she gets to charge up her passive and to trigger Airy, Scorch, and you can't dodge it. That's another thing that separates her from something like Soraka, is that you can't really dodge her stuff in the lane. Like, she's going to stack up her Spell Thief, she's going to stack up her passive, and she's just constantly going to put this little chip damage on you with the Airy, Scorch, Q spam over and over again. If she gets the auto attacks, it's quite a lot, but even if she doesn't get the autos, she can still safely land the Qs. So that's the thing, it's just too consistent. So I would either knock out some of her consistency, and again, there's a bunch of ways they could do that. They could lower the cooldown, they could or increase the cooldown, increase the mana costs, lower the effectiveness, the bonus damage that it gives out, or the healing and shielding.
But Dad, is it still day?
It is daytime, so I don't think this is going to matter that much. This is the bottom line. I still think she'll be over 54% for sure. So they've noticed that she's strong, but it's really weird things they're hitting on her. Okay, Eclipse. I feel like this isn't that strong. I mean, what are people supposed to get? Like, I don't know. I feel like they've nerfed a lot of the other items. If they wanted to nerf anything here, I would just nerf the shield. I guess that's what they're doing for melee champions. But I feel like this item's fine. I don't know. I feel like there are definitely more problematic items out there than Eclipse, but okay, sure. Force of Nature, so the stacks last longer and it gives you extra damage reduction. That it's weaker than Spirit Visage, yeah, because Spirit Visage, like the 25% healing and shielding is huge. They should just nerf Spirit Visage. Like, Spirit Visage should not affect shields. Like, why did they make it a shield thing? Shields are already too strong. Like, just nerf Spirit Visage. Just take away the shielding component, like it used to be, where it's just healing. And frankly, it should just be your healing is up. Now, they should make it something like maybe a little bit higher, like 30 or 35% increase to your personal healing. But they should take out the shielding component, and it should not increase how much other people heal you, in my opinion. I think it should just be a straight up, you want to increase your own sort of sustain with that item. But anyways, as it is, I still don't think a lot of people are going to get this. This is just going to favor champs that are already, like, pretty annoying. You know, Udyr, stuff that likes to run away. Udyr, Singe, those types of things. But I think most people are still going to stick with Spirit Visage. But that's fine. Again, I just don't think this is a necessary item to have in the game. Like, I don't know. Spirit Visage is fine. Why do we need another item that's basically Spirit Visage, but just gives you a little bit of movement speed instead of the plus healing and shielding? It's just, I don't know. I mean, it is for those kind of hit and run champions, but okay. Immortal Shield bow, good. This is one where I like 100% agree with this, and I'm glad they're doing that. The other ones are kind of whatever. I like the GP. The Diana's okay. I understand it. The other ones are a little mysterious, but this one makes perfect sense. I'm really glad they're nerfing this. So they're taking down 5 AD off of it, so they're clarifying that this is a utility item. Now you're going to do significantly less damage on this item than Kraken, because I believe Kraken is 60 still. It might even be 65. It's 65, yeah. Okay, so this is like clarifying, like 100% you are losing a lot of damage now to get this item. You're losing 15 AD, which is like almost 500 gold worth of value. It's like between 450 and 500 gold worth of value. Let me see here. What are? It doesn't say what the other aspects of it are. I guess I could, yeah, hover it here. 20% attack speed, 20% crit, 10% lifesteal. Okay, so you're losing 5% attack speed, and you're losing 15 attack damage, and you're losing the proc damage off of this. And I think the passive, yeah, the passive's a lot weaker too. You're only gaining 5 attack damage. You gain some health, but this is giving you 10% bonus attack speed. So, and this obviously scales way better. So I think that's a good choice. You know, and I like that they're nerfing the shield a little bit too. It's just like, you know, in the mid game here, this was probably giving you 600 to 700 shield, which is just way, way too much for something that I think only has a 90-second cooldown. If they wanted to make it more like a GA, like a 5-minute cooldown, you know, that'd make a little more sense. But on that short of a cooldown, it's going to be up virtually every fight. And now they are moving it into kind of the 500 to 600 range in the mid game. So I think that's a lot better, you know, 500 versus like 650 around level 13 or something. I don't know the exact math. I feel like that's a bit more manageable. Because like right now, it still did respectable damage before this nerf. It did respectable damage, gave you a massive shield, gave you sustain so you couldn't poke people out in the laning phase. And I think, doesn't it give you a bunch of AD once the shield comes up? Yeah, you gain for 8 seconds, which is the entirety of most fights, if we're being honest. For 8 seconds, you're gaining 15 to 35 bonus attack damage. So in a lot of situations, you were actually doing more damage than Kraken, at least the base damage on Kraken. I mean, not including the 3 hits, but you at least had as much AD in a lot of fights as Kraken did. So I kind of wish they would just take off the bonus AD for the 8 seconds and just maybe let it keep the 5 AD. But this is definitely a solid nerf, and I think that's okay. And it's not like the champs that are getting this are just like completely unstoppable. Vayne is really strong. They are hitting 2 items on her specifically, but I don't know. I like this change. I like it. It's clarifying that this is utility. You're giving up damage.
Hey, you didn't get the Squirrel's favorite cereal.
Okay, go ahead. I'll get it in just a second for you. Daddy's got to finish this video. Wits End. This one is a little problematic, mostly on Vayne, but like Kog'Maw, this is problematic on. I think maybe Master Yi was getting this. It just did too much damage and offered too much survivability, and particularly if you combined it with Shield Bow on certain champions, it was just way too strong. So I was kind of hoping they would nerf the offensive part of it, like the on-hit damage, or maybe like the movement speed. But they're nerfing the magic resist. So they're saying this is primarily a DPS item with a little bit of extra resists. I still think it's going to be pretty good, though. I mean, losing 10 magic resist is about the equivalent of 180 gold. So we'll see. This wasn't even that, to be honest, I don't even think it was that much better on Vayne in a lot of situations than something like Phantom Dancer. And Vayne, I think, is the only ADC that's over 54%, so she's a little on the high side. But yeah, it's basically the same win rate as Ginsu, Phantom Dancer, Wit's End. Those are all the same. And then even at third item, you know, Wit's End, Phantom Dancer, Ginsu, they're all the same win rate. Blade the Ruined King, Infinity Edge. I mean, you could literally just buy almost anything on her. So if they're nerfing this because of Vayne, that's probably a bad call, just because they just need to nerf Vayne. They just need to nerf like the true damage on her or something, because it doesn't really matter which item she gets. She's still going to be really strong with almost any item you put on her, right? I mean, look at this. Just like build anything and it's at least 53%. Like the first 6 items. That should tell you that there's a problem with the champion most of the time, when people can just, you know, completely mess up the builds and still be really strong, right? Can have suboptimal builds and still take over. So she's, you know, part of that's, she's just a product of, you know, the meta right now, that it is scaling, that it is harder to punish in lane. And I think she's a good user of lethal tempo, but anyways, okay, that's fine. I think it was kind of a toxic item anyways, but where the hell is the Sterix nerf? That's what I've been asking for all season. They've mentioned that the item is way too strong, but we'll see. Overall, I think the game's in a pretty good spot. I don't think they need to nerf too much. I still feel like the Sterix shield is a bit large, and since they've noticed that the shield is big, maybe they'll notice the 1000 HP shield on Sterix is probably a little too big too, but we'll see. Teleport. So I think this is an awesome change. I know that some pro players, especially, or like challenger level players, are probably not going to like this change because it's taking agency away from the top lane, obviously. But I think that this is going to be good for the game overall, because right now, especially at high level play, it encourages people to play really passively in other lanes if someone has TP. So like the bot lane, for example, it just encourages people in pro to just play like farm off laners bot, because if a teleport comes down, it can completely turn the fight around and you can lose. It discourages dives, so it just gets people to just play more defensively on the map. And I know that that's another strategic element that you have to play around, and that skill expression to track those timers, and, you know, to get an advantage in lane, top lane, and force your enemy to have to TP back to lane, and then you hold your TP so you can go down for the Dragon Fighter to assist with a gank or whatever. Like, I get it, it's skill expressive, like, that's cool, but I just think it has an outsized influence, especially at higher level play throughout the rest of the map. And it forces people to play defensively. And I think the game would just be much more exciting in pro. There would be more kills, more up-tempo games, if people were allowed to set up dives more, if people were allowed to, you know, aggressively play more all-in champs in the bot lane and try to snowball around that. I think that that's ultimately going to be better. So, okay, so this is saying, while League of Legends is indeed a team game, interact more with your team. Lane phase lets you show off your individual skills. Teleport to bot lane fights. Currently, it feels like bot lane gets decided by outside influence. Yes, I mean, it always does, but I mean, jungler and mid constantly sitting bottom is enough of a problem, but when the top laner TP's down too, it's a huge deal. Crowd out other summoners. Its flexibility. Yeah, it definitely crowds out. You can't take anything else in high level play. And this will kind of spice up top lane too a little bit. People will be able to take Ignite more, for more aggressive, you know, 1v1 kills and trades in lane. So I think it's just overall good for the game. Teleport is a somewhat toxic summoner spell. However, it is useful in the late game because it does enable split push, so that every single team comp isn't just death ball who has the best team fights, right? Like, you need to have some capabilities to skirmish, split push, and things like that. So I like how they've sort of negotiated this. So when the tower plates are on, when that's the laning phase, right, for the first 14 minutes, no teleport into the middle of the lane. You can still teleport to towers, so you can still defensively prevent dives, but you can't get flanks to punish people for pushing up and being aggressive. It's harder to punish. So I think that overall this is a good move. And then late game, so after 14 minutes, then you immediately get a 240-second cooldown, which is probably faster than it used to be. It was probably around 280 to 300 second cooldown right at 14 minutes. So if you take advantage of that in that little maybe 5-minute window or so there, then you might actually get a faster teleport timing. But, for most levels of play, I think outside of 14 minutes, it's going to be very, very similar. So, it's going to encourage a lot more aggression in the bot lane. And especially if you're a bot laner, you're obviously going to love it. If you're a top laner, you're probably not going to like it. But I think it's good for the game. Okay, 2022, we already mentioned all that. If you're a challenger, I don't think I have that many challengers that watch. I know we have a couple, but if you're a challenger, then they have sort of lessened the penalties for decay, which is good. I mean, 250 is ridiculous. Like, per day decay. It's like, come on, man. Like, that's insane. Yeah, you can bank. You have to play one. If you don't know how this works, basically you're forced to play at least one game a day or you start decaying a lot, just so that people can't get into challenger and just sit there and lock everyone else out. You have to play. But you can bank up to 14 days. That's 2 weeks vacation that you want. So that's quite a lot. It used to be 10 days. And the decay rate, 250 LP per day, is still insane. 75 is still a lot. That's almost an entire division per day for, normal people. Right, so 250 is kind of insane. So I like this. Decay's a little bit slower, gives people some more time in case they, want to go on a trip with their family or friends or something, or whatever's going on in their life. Maybe they've got finals or something if they're in high school or college. Let's give them a little bit more breathing room if they want to take a bit of a break, if they bank those days and then come back. And then you can decay down to Diamond 2. I like how they're calling it Apex Plays. Apex is kind of a strange name, but that's to include Masters, Grandmasters, and Challenger, because they kind of lump all of them together. And they're starting, in recent seasons, they've been giving special rules that apply to those high-level players, which is good because it's special players. It's a special environment where there's just a handful of people. So, for instance, they made it to where you can't duo anymore, in Masters Plus, which a lot of people up there like that. So I think it's nice that they do have some special rules that only apply to those situations, because it is just a different environment, not only because of skill level, but just the mechanics of the system, right, where there just aren't as many people that are playing. It's just a different world up there. Okay, so anyways, I like it. It's good. I still wish they'd just get rid of the Challenger and just make it all Master, Grandmaster, just because for people that don't play the game, it's just so much easier for them to understand. It's like, hey, what rank are you? I'm Grandmaster. Like, everyone knows that's really good. A Grandmaster's good. If you say I'm Challenger, it's like, the hell does that mean? It just doesn't have a very good analog with any other game. So people just don't know what that means. So I think just for clarity, especially if they're trying to go more mainstream, which it seems like they are, then that's what I would do. I would just get rid of Masters and just make it Grandmasters. I don't even know why there have to be those different designations. It's just your Masters, and you are on a new scale. You start at 0 LP again, and then you just go to Infinity. But I think saying Grandmasters, like maybe if you're over 500 LP, it's just Grandmasters. Like there's no cutoff as far as like numbers, because the cutoff with numbers is a little weird too. Like Challengers, the top 100 or whatever, I think it should just be a number. It's like over 500 LP, or whatever the case is. So I don't know. So I wish they would at least change the naming of it, but it's not a huge deal. Anyways, okay, and then they show you the kind of rewards that you get, which do look pretty sharp for this season, which is cool. A bunch of bug fixes. I haven't read all these. I don't think it matters that much on most of them. Sometimes bug fixes can be a really big deal, but usually it's hard to appreciate that unless you're like a one-trick with those champions. Like the Vi changes they made a couple of patches ago, those bug fixes on Vi were massive, and they gave her like a huge win rate boost, like 2 or 3%. But anyways, we'll keep it under 30 minutes. So thank y'all very much for tuning in. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. We'll be streaming later tonight, starting around midnight Eastern Standard Time. Come by, hang out, have fun, ask questions. And yeah, look forward to seeing you there. Have a good one.